All right, good evening, everybody. It's your boy Akeem, and welcome to today's vlog. Here to continue with my first round mock draft for the 2014 NFL Draft. Now, for this pick, I need to talk about pick number 25, belonging to the San Diego Chargers. Now, they had a great run last season, losing in the divisional round of the playoffs and pulling off a great road win against the Cincinnati Bengals. That was an impressive victory, but then they lost in the divisional round, and they had a good season overall, clawing their way to the playoffs, actually ending the regular season 9-7 and barely making it to the playoffs, but they had an excellent run, and I think they could come back to the playoffs, but they still need to have some players, some keys that they need to fill in on the defensive side. But before I get to the defensive side, let's talk a little bit about this team. Offensively, they had a great year by Comeback Player of the Year award winner Philip Rivers leading the way at quarterback, passed for over 4,400 yards, 32 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. An impressive year. And another good player who had a great season was his running back, Ryan Matthews, who had his best season yet running the football, well over 1,200 yards, 4.4 yards per carry. And let's not forget about his backup running back and Danny Woodhead, well 8 yards per reception and over 50 receptions last season, leading all running backs. It was a great year for these two tandem. I think they work well together. And I was very confused with the free agent signing of Donald Brown coming out of the Indianapolis Colts on both sides. Now, I honestly respect a little bit their decision of signing Donald Brown because both Ryan Matthews and Danny Woodhead is going to be free agents at the end of the 2014 season this upcoming year. So they're looking to have more protection at running back and signing Donald Brown. But I don't think that was a good decision. I think they should have held on to that money and used their money to get a cornerback. Now, in Donald Brown's case, I was a little bit confused because he's going to be fighting for playing time against Danny Woodhead and Ryan Matthews, and I think he should have waited a little bit longer, especially with the Tennessee Titans releasing Chris Johnson. I think if he had waited a little longer, he could have went to Tennessee with more money and a better opportunity to start right away at running back. I think it was a little bit of the bad decision for Donald Brown, but hey, he's still going to San Diego, which is a great area in California. Now, also sticking with the offensive side, Keenan Allen had a great rookie season. He was actually a finalist for Offensive Rookie of the Year, well over 1,000 yards, 1,046 yards receiving, and I think he's going to be due for a good sophomore campaign. But the San Diego Chargers can still look for a good receiver to work opposite of Keenan Allen and helping out Philip Rivers, having even improved their passing attack. Now, I'm going on the defensive side. They had a pretty stellar performance in stopping the run, but had a terrible job in stopping the pass. They were actually 29th in the league in passing yards allowed. Now, let's talk about a couple of particular players. Eric Weddle actually led the team in tackles with 115, and I think Donald Butler, the linebacker, had a pretty good season, 84 total tackles, and he signed a 7-year deal worth $48 million. Now, I mentioned about Donald Brown signing. I was a little bit confused with this particular signing. Yes, they should have definitely locked down Butler. He's a great linebacker, but I think they gave him a little bit too much money. That's just my opinion. I think they could have saved just a couple of $1 million and not signed Donald Brown to try to get a cornerback to help out the secondary. That's what I would have particularly done. That's just my personal opinion, but I think they're going to go with cornerback with their first round selection. But I do like Donald Brown and Donald Butler. I just don't really agree with the signings on both ends, and I even had this discussion with our man Justin Gotzi, another Pro Football Exclusive exec. He's a great analyst, and I think that we have a little bit of disagreement on that one, but I still think that was a good signing overall for Donald Butler. Now, sticking with the defensive side, they had to deal with a lot of injuries. Two particular players, Larry English is coming back from a torn bicep, as well as Dwight Freeney coming back from a torn quadricep, and he's actually getting there in age, and Larry English has not showed us that first round prowess that we were looking for the San Diego Chargers, so he was pretty much of a flop so far in his career, and as well as Melvin Ingram. Both these two players are both major disappointments, so they could definitely be looking for a pass rushing outside linebacker with this particular pick. And Kyle Van Noy's one player that I think they should keep their eye on. I think it's a little bit of a reach, but they should definitely consider him picking him at number 25 in the first round. Sticking on the defensive side, they could use a good defensive tackle. Kwame Ganthers only had 4 tackles last season, but hopefully he can shape it up and step it up this year. But I think they could go with defensive tackle with this particular pick. I mentioned outside linebacker and a cornerback. As I mentioned, Sharice Rice actually led the team with 9 pass breakups out of USC. Decent player, 56 tackles last season, but I think they really honestly could use a cornerback with this one. Now, offensively, they could use a receiver to work opposite of Keenan Allen, but they could also look for a guard guard because Jerome McClarty, he's actually going to be a free agent at the end of this upcoming season, so they could look for protection. And I think the good player that they should definitely keep their eye on, and they do have their eyes on, is Xavier Zuafella out of UCLA, kind of local, just around the corner from San Diego. He's a tremendous athlete, and he plays with a mean streak. Plus, he actually worked out with offensive line coach Joe De Los Andres, the offensive line coach for the San Diego Chargers, for his pro day workout, and he definitely has his eyes on him with this particular selection. So I won't be shocked if they go with a guard, but I think they need to address the defensive side and go with a cornerback with this one. And I think that Kyle Fuller out of Virginia Tech should be available for this pick, and this is the guy that they should go with this particular selection. Now, for the team that I think that the player who I think they will select will be probably it's either Jason Verrett out of TCU or Xavier Zuafella out of UCLA, but I think they need to stick with the cornerback position and go with Jason Verrett. Now, the reason why I'm not going to mention Kyle Fuller for that particular mock draft is because Kyle Fuller, I have him gone to the Cincinnati Bengals at pick number 24. I think the Bengals will select him at 24, leaving a void for the San Diego Chargers, and so they would actually have to end up picking Jason Verrett out of TCU. But he's still a good athlete. He was actually co-defensive player of the year of the Big 12 Conference this past season, and I think he would be a good addition as well as Kyle Fuller. I have Kyle Fuller going, who they should pick, but who they probably will select if Kyle Fuller is not available is Jason Verrett out of TCU. Now, the next time to catch you guys is tomorrow for pick 26 of this year's draft. Another team who has a second pick in the first round, the Cleveland Browns. Thank you for watching today's blog from Pro Football Exclusive. I'm your man, Akeem McCall. Be easy.